zone CIS offices in each of the 4 PC zone commands when he held the top post on December 1, 1960. A year after, in 1962, Lieutenant Colonel Jose Maristela was appointed chief and was credited for having organized the Special Operations Branch of the CIS, the functions of which were anti-carnapping operations, anti-smuggling, and running after robbery hold-up syndicates. Briefly, in August 1963, Colonel Francisco Jimenez was named as the CIS chief. He was immediately succeeded by Lieutenant Colonel Gaudencio Gadi. Colonel Benjamin Tolentino was named to the post in 1966. Tolentino's term saw the solution of the Corazon Jose Tanhuaquio kidnap for ransom case that tagged the headlines that time. His men successfully rescued Tanhuaquio after 38 days of captivity in a dugout under a pigsty. His officers were awarded the Military Merit Medal, while the kidnappers were meted with death penalty. For just 2 months, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Lantion took over as the officer in charge, followed by Colonel Robustiano Javier. During this transition, the CIS was placed under the functional grouping of C3, the Office of the Assistant Chief for Operations of the Philippine Constabulary. On March 18, 1967, Colonel Felizardo Tanabe assumed command and led CIS agents in the manhunt of guns for hire and robbery hold-up syndicates, and was credited for the solution of the Concepcion and gun sling. It was in his time that the first reclassification and standardization of salaries of CIS agents was passed into law by the Philippine Congress. Lieutenant Colonel Simplicio Belisario replaced Tanabe, and again a swift change took place. That saw Lieutenant Colonel Pacencio Magtibay at the helm of the CIS. Magtibay solved the assassination case of Catanduanes Governor Juan Alberto, who was gunned down while inside the elevator in the old GSIS building in Arroceros, Manila. Colonel Cesar Garcia succeeded Magtibay in 1968. This part of the year was characterized by political unrest and unprecedented activism of the labor and the student sectors. 1969 saw Colonel Rafael Dumlao heading the CIS. He became famous among his peers for the solution of the Ricardo C. murder and the mid-air explosion of the Air Manila passenger plane in Aklan. The CIS investigators' findings became a precedent in the promulgation of a Civil Aeronautics Administration SOP that requires the inspection of passengers' baggages for explosives. Dumlao's term also dealt a crippling blow to the organized criminal syndicates involved in counterfeiting local and foreign currencies and gun runners. Lieutenant Colonel Pelagio Perez replaced Dumlao. Perez's contribution was well heralded for the capture of Jose Pepe Saclao, the country's public enemy number 1. Saclao had a string of no less than 28 heinous crimes wherein he was the principal accused. In the solution of the Francisco Marasigan carnap slay, the 95,000 peso robbery holdup of a Bureau of Census paymaster, the massacre of 8 barrio officials in Tarlac, and the rape murder case of a 15-year-old Erlinda Manzano. It was during Perez's time that a marked increase in drug-related cases had news headlines. The first staging of the Antipolo Rock Festival in the summer of 1970, attended by 12,000 drug-crazed youths belonging to various hippie families of the emerging subculture, and the discovery of 80,000 pesos worth of marijuana plants in a Quezon City backyard which housed a pot dead. October 1971, then Brigadier General Eduardo Garcia, acting Chief of the Philippine Constabulary, paid tribute to the gallantry and heroism of then PC Captain Mariano Castañeda, and named after him this historic building that now houses the home of the country's top sleuths and crack investigators of the PNP cidg, who have shared lives and limb in the tradition of its moving motto, "We seek the truth." The CIS was further tested when President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law with the imposition of Proclamation 1081 in September 21, 1972. Two CIS chiefs made names, Colonel Prospero Olivas and Colonel Antonio Uy. Olivas, then Chief of the PC Metrocom Investigation Detachment, was named Chief CIS by then PC Chief Brigadier General Eduardo Garcia. Olivas took his marching orders to help administer the new social order with the dismantling